We'll start with Jai Radha Madhav. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Hare Krishna. So welcome back. Um, Anybody remembers what was the topic, what was the context until last week? So
Prabhu,
there was some dialogue going on, right? Anybody
yeah,
remember?
it is between Vidur and Uddhav.
Okay,
The after the Uddhav has been instructed by Lord to go to Badrika Ashram.
correct. Yes, correct. And who is Uddhav?
Uddhav is one of the Vasus, Prabhu,
Yeah, correct.
who
And
was promised by the Lord that he will get the association of the Lord in his next, matlab, whatever birth it is.
uh,
So that what we were informed, told.
excellent. Yes. And currently in this particular Leela, what role is he performing?
He's just, I think, meeting Vidur, telling him something about whatever he has. He has a dialogue with Lord because he is very much perturbed because of the separation of the Lord. Because he knows that Lord is now going, and then he asked him to go to Matrimony, who was also there when the Lord and Vidur was there, when he was there, and when Lord was telling the things.
Yeah, yeah, correct. I'm asking in this particular Leela of Krishna, the whole Leela of Krishna, uh, he is performing a role here, right? What role is he performing?
Cousin of Krishna?
Yeah, cousin of Krishna, but he is acting more like well, meaning the purest of the devotees of Krishna. Not acting, he is actually so. The point is, based on his life, based on his actions, there is a lot to learn for us also as to what kind of devotion we should have for Krishna. Okay, the point is, these people, the pure devotees, they come down, they take part in Krishna Lila, they assist Krishna in performing the Lila, but it is not a random choice. That कोई भी आ जाओ चलो no problem. First 10 people who come will be taken down to earth. ऐसा नहीं है. These people are carefully chosen because not just that they do the Leela perfectly, but also they teach a lot to common people like us. And Uddhav is actually doing that. So Uddhav's Uddhav's complete personality, Uddhav's actions, Uddhav's thought, Uddhav's devotion to Krishna, Uddhav's feeling of separation, all of these are excellent lessons for us to learn from. Okay. And can anyone say exactly when is this dialogue happening? Has the war
Sir,
happened or war is going on now?
no,
No, war
war
was
is
over.
over.
War is completed, right? Correct.
War is over, and it is after the Musal Leela, it is happening.
Now, meaning, yes, you are right. So, Mosal Lila is meaning you will get that confirmation now in this today's verses also that the Mosal Lila has happened already. Okay. Now, Lord has also departed. Okay. So that is actually making his devotee Uddhav very sad about. Okay. And we will see certain verses today, especially with sun as an example, so it will give reference to the previous verses also. Anybody has any question? Not that I am eligible to answer it, but if you have any question, we can discuss about it. Until so far, whatever has happened. Nine? Okay, so let's proceed with verse number 23. Yeah. Shri Shuka Uvacha इत्युद्धवाद उपाकर्ण्य सुहृदां दुःसहं वधं ज्ञाने नाशमया तत्क्षत्ता शोकमुत्पतितं बुधः. Translation and purport. Anybody wants to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Sri Sukhdev Goswami said, after hearing from Uddhav all about the annihilation of his friends and relatives, the learned Vidur pacified his overwhelming bereavement by dint of his transcendental knowledge. Vidur was informed that the result of the Battle of Kurukshetra was the annihilation of his friends and relatives, as well as the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, and also the passing away of the Lord. All these hurled him into bereavement from the nice for the nice being for the time being, but because he was highly advanced in transcendental knowledge, he was quite competent to pacify himself by enlightenment. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, due to our long association with bodily relationships, bereavement on account of annihilation of friends and relatives is not at all astonishing, but one has to learn the art of subduing such bereavement with higher transcendental knowledge. The talks between Uddhav and Vidur on the topic of Krishna began at sunset, and Vidur was now further advanced in knowledge due to his association with Uddhav.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. So, can anybody mention the reason why Prabhupada is writing that the talks happened between Uddhav and Vidur on the topic of Krishna began at sunset? Any guesses? मतलब अभी हम लोग बात कर रहे थे अभी
Like sunset because Lord is no more present on the earth.
yes,
So
correct.
sunset.
Correct. But there is a reference to one of the previous verses. Okay. In Canto 3, either chapter 3 or chapter 4. नहीं, chapter 4 में है, कहीं पे है, chapter 3 या chapter 4 में है, where when Uddhav is talking to Vidur, he mentioned that the sun has set. Okay, which indicates that Lord Krishna has departed. Now, the fact that he is giving this as an example also indicates that the setting of the sun actually is happening in front of him, which gives him in kind of inspiration to use that as an example in the verse. And both are appropriate. The timing of the discussion and the topic of the discussion, they actually relate with the setting of the sun. So it's so meaning, this is what I try to emphasize always, that these people, they speak only about Krishna. They do not have any other topic than Krishna to talk about. People like Shukadev Goswami or Vidur or Maitreya Muni or Uddhav, they, if they choose a word in a particular verse, it will 100% have a far deeper meaning than what we can perceive at the surface level. So when he gives that as an example, it's just that because sunset has happened and Krishna has departed, it's not that the timing of this discussion is also coinciding with the sunset. Okay. Now, now let's move the topic to this other aspect where Prabhupada mentions that due to our long association with bodily relationships, bereavement on account of annihilation of friends and relatives, it's possible, right? It is very much possible. So when we live with a person for 50 years, 70 years, it is very much possible that we get accustomed to the presence, to the existence of the person in our life, in our daily life. Suddenly, when the person goes away and that shock comes to us, it is very much possible that we feel the loss, we feel sad about it. That bereavement automatically happens. But the common person, okay, they let this bereavement take them over forever their life. Whereas a knowledgeable person, they immediately are able to shake off that loss with their transcendental knowledge. I remember one of my uncles, he said this. So his wife, my aunt, she was detected with cancer and she could not survive more than 2 years after detection. So when for 2 years he was aware that this is something that is going to happen in a very short while, okay, he should have ideally mentally prepared for that. But instead, when it actually happened, he took a decision that from today onwards, I am not going to worship God. So, you know, in every Hindu house, especially, we have a temple at home, right? There are various deities are there. He took a decision that I will not do any puja from now on. And he actually did not do it. Okay. So, this is the difference between a common man's behavior on the loss of a near or dear ones and between person like Vidur when he understands. And for Vidur practically you see it was a far bigger shock. Okay, the shock was not just that Kauravas were lost the war. That was hardly a shock because he knew that is anyway going to happen. But the shock was multitude. Firstly, great people like Bhishma and Dronacharya were no more on this world. Okay, whereas he grew up by holding the hand of Bhishma. So when Krishna was here on this earth, he remained on earth for 125 years. Vidur was born before Krishna's appearance and Vidur departed after Krishna's disappearance. So Vidur must have lived at least for 150 200 years. Vidur was of the age of his father Vasudev. Okay. So that means Vidur would have lived for 150, 175, 200 years. For all these 200 years, he was constantly accompanied by Bhishma. Pandavas at least left Bhishma when they were small, young kids. They went to Dronacharya for education. When they came back, then they had to go for exile for 13 years. So, from a quantity of association perspective, Pandavas had less association of Bhishma than Vidur. Vidur was constantly in touch. Such a person, along with Dronacharya, that news comes that you have lost him. On top of that one, Yadu dynasty, which was relatives of Vidur, he gets the news that the Yadu dynasty has been destroyed. Yeah, and the manner in which they were destroyed, that was also a shock. A person going peacefully, leaving the body peacefully at night, is far different than the Yadu dynasty killing each other, and all the hundreds and thousands of relatives, they lose their life in a single night. And the biggest shock, that Krishna has departed. All these three things are a far, far bigger shock than a common person losing a wife or a husband. Yeah. So if a common person gives up on the loss of his wife, can give up the worship of the deity altogether, what should ideally Vidur do? But what instead Vidur did? That he took up, let his transcendental knowledge suppress his feelings. Okay, he let the knowledge take over his emotions, and he was guided by his knowledge. That is the difference between a person like Vidur and a common man. So Prabhupada writes, one has to learn the art of subduing such bereavement with higher and transcendental knowledge. So to be able to understand that you are not this body, you are a soul, that itself is a big leap towards Adhyatmic Pragati, spiritual progress. Hare Krishna. Any question? Chalo, let's look at verse 24. Satam Mahabhagavatam Vrajantam Kauravarshapha Vishrambhadavyadhattedam Mukhyam Krishna Parigrahe.
Hare
Translation.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation. While Uddhava, the chief and most confidential amongst devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura in affection and confidence questioned him. Purport. Vidura was much older than Uddhava. By family relationship, Uddhava was contemporary brother of Krishna's, while Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father Vasudeva. But although junior by age, Uddhava was much advanced in the devotional service of the Lord, and therefore is described herein as the chief amongst the devotees of the Lord. Vidura was confident about this, and thus he addressed Uddhava in that higher category. That is a way of courteous dealings between two devotees. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
So again, meaning going back to the previous point that we discussed, the way these pure devotees of the Lord, they behave with each other is actually a example, a lesson for us. Yeah. If you see in normal dealings also, yeah, let alone spiritual dealings, elderly person always carries some ego about his age, about his experience, about the respect that he should get from someone else, right? And especially if that person is on a higher position and another person is of a different level, then the ego further increases, right? Now you look at it, Vidur was himself Yamraj. Yamraj is known to be a Mahajan. Of the 12 Mahajans that are mentioned in the 6th canto, Yamraj is one Mahajan. That Yamraj is known to be Mahajan because these 12 Mahajans, they understand the science of Krishna completely. Okay, it is not a position that can be ordinarily achieved by people like us. That knowledge is completely available with them because that devotional service knowledge. Such a person who himself is an excellent devotee of the Lord, okay, has absolutely no qualms, no concerns about respectfully addressing Uddhava that you are the chief amongst the devotees. Yeah, people like us, if we were there, हम लोग बोलते अरे क्या मैं क्या कम हूँ? I myself am a Mahajan. I know the Shastra completely. Why should I go and ask somebody who has far lesser experience than me? हाँ, मैंने तो भीष्म पितामह से सीखा हुआ है. Krishna himself used to have a dialogue with me. Why should I go and talk to Uddhav? Right? Also junior भी है, दूर का रिश्तेदार है, and all that. But Vidur has absolutely no concerns. Vidur addresses him Mahabhagavat, not just Bhagavat. I can mention somebody as a good devotee. Yeah, he is a good devotee, but I am better. But he calls Mahabhagavat, the chief among devotees of the Lord. Hmm. It is an excellent lesson for us how to deal with devotees. How do we interact and respect other devotees? How do we uh, not speak too highly about our own achievements and our own position? How do we give more and more respect to whatever little somebody else does? Okay, and here it is like Uddhav, confidential servant of the Lord. Okay, he himself received a Gita specifically spoken by him. Today we remember Bhagavad Gita, and because of Bhagavad Gita and other factors, we remember Arjun. That Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord to Arjun. That's why Arjun carries extra importance. Krishna did not choose Yudhishthir to speak Bhagavad Gita. Why? You already have knowledge of dharma. Let me give you a little, and then you can distribute in a better manner to the common people than what Arjun can do. Krishna didn't do that. Krishna chose Arjun. So Arjun's position can be understood. Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses. Uddhav Gita is 1041 verses. Such a person, Uddhav, where Krishna spoke a Gita specifically 1.5 times bigger than Arjun, that Uddhav is not an ordinary person. Vidur understands that. Vidur is calling him Mahabhagvat. Vidur is keeping his devotion aside. Vidur is giving the maximum respect to Uddhav. He does not consider his age at all in this one. He says, no, you are a devotee, and for the devotion, physical age carries no limitations. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट अभी हम लोग को लगता है इवन इन जनरल डिवोटी टू डिवोटी डीलिंग ऑल्सो ऑटोमेटिकली वन स्टार्ट्स एक्सपेक्टिंग रिस्पेक्ट वाई बिकॉज ही इज सीनियर इन टर्म्स ऑफ एज देन अदर्स ओके तो ये जो फिजिकल डायमेंशंस के ऊपर रिस्पेक्ट एक्सपेक्ट करना या रिस्पेक्ट किसी को देना या नहीं देना is actually an incorrect parameter. And this is what this particular relationship is teaching us. Vidur could have told, I am giving you an order. You sit down here and tell me everything that Krishna told you. It is your duty. Krishna, he doesn't say that. He is requesting. He is requesting with affection. Okay? That meaning you are so much loved by Krishna. Please tell us what Krishna has told. It's such a superb lesson it is. So Vidur starts speaking now, and he will now request Uddhav to impart that knowledge which Krishna has given him. Vidur uvacha jnanam param swatmarah prakasham yadaha yogeshwara ishwaraste vaktum bhavannoti no arhati yadhi vishnor भृत्याः स्वभृत्यार्थकृतश्चरन्ति. Translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Translation by Sri Prabhupada Jai Shri. Vidura said, O Uddhava, because the servants of Vishnu, the Lord, wander in the interest of serving others, it is quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord himself. Purport. The servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. They have no interest in human society other than to enlighten it in transcendental knowledge. They are interested in imparting knowledge of the relationship of the living being with the Supreme Lord, the activities in that transcendental relationship, and the ultimate goal of human life. That is the real knowledge which can help society achieve the real aim of human welfare. Knowledge is in the matter of the bodily necessities of eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing, transformed into various branches of advancement of knowledge is all temporary. A living being is not the material body, but an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Being, and thus revival of his self-knowledge is essential. Without this knowledge, the human life is baffled. The servants of the Lord Vishnu are entrusted with this responsible work, and so they wander over the earth and to all other planets in the universe. Thus, the knowledge which was received by Uddhava directly from the Lord deserves to be distributed in human society, especially to persons like Vidura, who are highly advanced in the devotional service of the Lord. Real transcendental knowledge descends in the disciplic succession from the Lord to Uddhava, from Uddhava to Vidura, and so on. Such supreme transcendental knowledge is not possible to achieve by the process of imperfect speculation as performed by the so-called learned mundane wranglers. Vidura was anxious to know from Uddhava that confidential knowledge known as Paramam Sthitim, in which the Lord is known by his transcendental pastimes. Although Vidura was older than Uddhava, he was anxious to become a servant of Uddhava in the transcendental relationship. This formula of transcendental disciplic succession is taught by Lord Chaitanya also. Lord Chaitanya advises that one receive transcendental knowledge from anyone, whether a Brahmana or a Shudra, a householder or a sannyasi, provided that the person is factually conversant with the science of Krishna. A person who knows the science of Krishna is factually a bona fide spiritual master. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So we spoke about some of the points here. So when a person intends to serve the Lord, it is not a physical service that is being talked about. That service can be in terms of actions which help the Lord fulfill the mission also. It is not that the Lord is incapable to do it by himself. ऐसा नहीं है, if the Lord desires, within a fraction of a second, he can take back all the souls of all universes back to his kingdom. But that is not the ideal method. That's why the Lord doesn't do it. And then the Lord gives an opportunity to his devotees to perform service to them. Okay. So let us try to just discuss when we get an opportunity, who is it for actually? Let's take a small example here. Okay. Let's take Prime Minister Modi. If he wants something and if he calls you, let's say Uday Bhaskar, okay, I'm taking his name because he is a very good friend of mine. So let's say Uday Bhaskar, he calls Prime Minister Modi calls Uday and tells him, Uday, I want so and so thing. Now, can Uday say that, oh, I am doing a favor to Prime Minister Modi? It is not actually, because like Uday, there are hundreds and thousands of people who would happily do the same thing for Prime Minister. But Prime Minister Modi is choosing Uday to and giving an opportunity to do that service to the nation. Right? Similarly, when the Lord has millions of people, millions of devotees who can actually perform this service to Him, despite that, the Lord chooses you, gives you the opportunity to do that service to Him. It is the Lord who is actually doing the favor to that individual by giving the opportunity, rather than the individual thinking that I am doing a favor to the Lord. This is a very important point to understand. Okay, so many a times we'll expand this example. Many a times you tell people, "Arey, can you come for the class, or can you do this particular worship to the Lord? Can you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 2 rounds a day?" So people say, "नहीं, time नहीं है मेरे पास." Okay, now it is not that the person doesn't have time at all. It is the desire that he doesn't possess. But more importantly, the Lord has put him in such a position that he will not be able to perform service to the Lord. So it is not that the individual is saying no to the Lord. It is the Lord who is saying no to that individual. And the earlier we understand this, it is better for us. एवरी टाइम यू थिंक दैट अरे मैं चैंटिंग किया, हाँ मैंने थोड़ा, या अरे मैं भगवत गीता सीखा, और आई अटेंडेड वन पर्टिकुलर क्लास, और आई डिड दिस कुकिंग सेवा, और आई डिड ऑफर्ड भोगा टू द लॉर्ड, और आई डिड डीटी वर्शिप फॉर द लॉर्ड. All of this, when you think that I did, na, you should think that it is the Lord who has allowed you to do it. The Lord is actually not in need of anything. There, if you say the Lord, if you take his deity form also, there are millions of Radhesham, Gaur Nitai, ya Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, ya Ram, Sita, Lakshman, Hanuman, so many deities are available, millions of deities are available. If you at your home or somebody's home doesn't worship the deity properly, the deity or the Lord himself, both are same. In fact, the deity carries absolutely, it makes no difference to the deity. But if you do it, it is for your own benefit, it is for your own purification. So it is very much important to understand that who is doing the favor to whom. Is it you who are doing the favor to the Lord by serving him, or is it the Lord doing favor to you by allowing him to serve you? Yeah. I would like to understand what your thoughts are on this one so that we can speak in a little more detail. Do you think Nehal Mataji, Rakesh Prabhu, Uday Prabhu, Rao, Sushil Prabhu, do you think at any point of time when you do something for the Lord, what a great work that I have done for the Lord? Do you ever think that way?
No.
Because practically speaking, we have to come to that state of mind that it is the Lord who is allowing us to do it. The Lord practically is in control of absolutely everything. To think that we have some level of eligibility or ability to do some favor to the Lord in itself is a foolish thinking. We are absolutely nothing. We cannot even control our closing of our eyelid also, let alone the whole body, let alone the surroundings of the body, let alone the universe. So, sorry, Sumati Mataji, you wanted to say something?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yeah. Like you said, na, we get the opportunity to do things, but sometimes uh, like we go forward to do the some seva, but we are not getting the seva. In that
Correct.
case, what?
Correct.
So
So,
it is God's will only that we are not getting to do that seva.
God's will is there,
You
but
know,
we should also think, why is the God keeping you away?
yes, that's what I want to ask.
What do you think? Who else? Anybody has any thoughts around this one? Why would the Lord want to keep you away? If
क्योंकि
it,
हम भक्ति अच्छे से नहीं कर रहे हैं प्रभु जी.
और क्यों नहीं कर रहे भक्ति अच्छे से?
क्योंकि अपनी इंद्रिय तृप्ति में लगे हुए हैं.
Correct. Indriya Trupti mein lage. And there is one more aspect to this one. Anybody else? Any point?
Yes,
Very
प्रभु जी, one
important.
question.
हाँ
That
बोलो मैम.
like हमको इतना लेट क्यों मिली भक्ति? मतलब
Correct.
हम लोग अभी 50 ऑलमोस्ट होने वाले हैं, अभी इतना लेट क्यों भक्ति मिली? और हम छोटे छोटे बच्चों को देखते हैं 2 years 3 years, वो कितना अच्छा भक्ति करते हैं. आई जस्ट वेंट टू मायापुर, आई सॉ दैट छोटे छोटे फॉरेनर्स
Correct.
कितना अच्छा भक्ति करते हैं. तो ऐसा क्यों हुआ हमारे साथ प्रभु जी?
Exactly. That's an excellent question. Sumati Mataji, Nehal Mataji, these are excellent questions, actually. Anybody wants to speak out few points? Why do you think it is so?
This is because
प्रभु हमें सही
of
तरीके से भक्ति करने का भी नहीं
previous
आता
birth,
है.
no?
Sorry, one person at a time. Rao Prabhu, you were saying something. Rao or Rakesh Prabhu were saying
Yeah.
something.
We understood that one once we progress on this bhakti, then in next birth we'll continue from there. I think
That's okay.
what
That's okay. But why did you get bhakti late?
means in our current and previous birth we would have been like a focus on the material activities, not on the transcendental service.
Correct. Why did that happen?
I feel it's because, as Krishna explains in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, that based on your level of devotion uh, and whatever activities you do, that's the birth that you get in the next life. And whatever you had done in the previous birth, you advance from there only.
Correct. But why did that happen? Why did you not feel inclined towards performing more devotion to the Lord in this life?
Maybe we didn't get in contact with the devotees in the previous life, or our
Correct.
circumstances were like that.
Correct. That is
Or our
one reason.
environment is like that.
That is one reason. Correct. That's one reason. There is another reason to this one. Okay. There are two aspects to the second reason. One is our papa karma. Okay. I'll bring you to one particular verse of Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 27th verse. Okay, yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohan nirmukta bhajante ichhadvesha. I'm sorry, I was speaking 28. This is ichhadvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. O scion of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Okay. Then what happens? Because from the birth, we carry ichha and dvesh. What we want, that ichha is there, and what we do not want, the dvesh is there. Because of that, what happens? We perform activities that fulfill our desire, and we avoid activities which we do not want, those events to not come to us. And these are papa karma and punya karma. Okay. Then what happens? After performing lot of punya karma or papa karma and all, we reach to a stage where now Krishna says that persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, they are freed from the dualities of delusion, and then they engage themselves in my service with determination. So it is our papa karma that keeps, meaning holds us and does not allow us to go towards Krishna. Okay, that does not allow us to go towards Krishna. But when we perform punya karma and we reduce our papa karma, then it is, the platform is improves. It's not that a punyatma will always be a good devotee of Krishna. No, not at all. Okay. So papa karma stops us completely. It does not, if you draw a circle and inside the circle, if you write bhakti, then a papa karma person will be actually outside the circle, and his papa karma will not allow him from going inside the circle. Okay. So this is part A of the answer, of part A of the second answer. The second part of the second answer is, let's assume your papa karma is less, but and you are within the circle of bhakti. Then there are something called as anarthas, okay, bad qualities. So if, let's say, a person has a bad quality, that he is very arrogant in his behavior, when he speaks in a very insulting manner to others. This is a quality. Until the quality is manifested into an action, it does not become a papa karma or a punya karma. Okay. So this quality, when it is there within a person, that quality may not stop you from entering into bhakti, but it will stop you from progressing into bhakti. So there are two things here: entering into the world of bhakti, and from there progressing in the world of bhakti. The papa karma stops you from entering into the world of bhakti. The anarthas stop you from progressing in the world of bhakti. So you may come into ISKCON, maybe because your papa karma is less, but you will not be able to progress in the world of bhakti because your anarthas are very high. So it is not just sufficient to give up your papa karma or to perform your punya karma. It is very much important to give up the anarthas also. That is only possible by chanting and the mercy of a devotee. So the first answer which Sumati Mataji gave, that is the mercy of a devotee, actually helps you, acts as a rope which pulls you. The devotee is already inside the circle of bhakti and you are outside. So the devotee gives you a rope to hold, and when you hold on to the rope, the devotee pulls you into the circle of bhakti. So the second part of the answer now is not applicable. You have come into the circle of bhakti. Now the one thing that one is supposed to do is to give up these wrong habits because of which he performed papa karma. He should start performing bhakti. By which automatically the anarthas will also go away, and then you will be able to progress. And then Krishna says, then you will be able to engage in my service with determination. Is that clear? Anybody has any question?
Yes, Prabhu, clear. Thank you so much.
Nehal Mataji, Sushil Prabhu, Uday Prabhu, Rakesh Prabhu. These are certain important topics. Is it clear now?
One key thing, Punya Karma, what, like, say, many times we have been discussing about Punya Karma. Like, in a day-to-day life, uh, how do we just divert ourselves towards doing Punya Karma? Because the virtue of being, are we going to work, or we going to places, mostly somehow forces us, or it by the virtue of being there, we do a lot of not punya karma.
Matlab, what do you do in that case then?
Like say if you go to office, okay, you do certain things which maybe is not right also. The way you behave, or the way you meet people, or the way you take up certain things. On a day-to-day life, I don't know how, like, even if you have to focus everything into doing only punya karma, and certain things, I think, uh, because of the virtue of how we are doing things, by itself becomes pap karma.
But when you know that it is not right to be done, then why would somebody want to do it then?
No, I'm just taking an example. In an office, when you are dealing with people, or when you are dealing with particular uh, part of your work, I don't know if you will be able to completely be doing only punya karma.
Okay, so let's first understand what is the difference between punya karma and bhakti. Okay, then we will understand whether whatever you are speaking is actually punya karma or not. So punya karma is done, it's a good action performed with a selfish motive. Okay, so when you are talking about that example, when you know that what is being done is not the best of the action, okay, that can be categorized as papa karma, if at all, but it definitely cannot be categorized as punya karma, and it in no way can be categorized as bhakti. So the point is, we Krishna says, irrespective of which world you are in, whether it is professional world or not, it is you are part of this body. Whatever the body does, we are responsible for that. So if knowingly we are committing actions, whether in office or any outside world also, if that is incorrect action, it will carry its own consequences depending on the seriousness of it. And in office, if you do not have any opportunity to perform punya karma, it is okay. Anyway, Krishna does not want us to do punya karma. Punya karma also binds us to this world. It's just that it is better than doing papa karma. That's why he says, if at all you have a proclivity towards papa karma, it is better to do punya karma rather than papa karma. So at least that affinity, that inclination towards papa karma will go away. Not sure whether this answered your question or not, but I think your question was, when in office, how do you actually deal, right? In office also we can deal in a truthful manner. In office also we do not need to we do not need to worry about office politics. Many a times people do play politics in office. That is because their consciousness is towards obtaining whatever benefit they can think of in an illegitimate manner. Okay, so here when we uh, basically ignore the hand of Sri Krishna in the events that happen in our life, that is when we think that if we go out of the way and perform activities or behave in a certain manner, we can achieve what we otherwise would not have achieved. So we do not believe in what Krishna gives us. We try to do obtain that by ourselves. That is when we resort to office politics and all that, which is practically not required. You will not get anything which is more than what is written in your fate. There is absolutely no need for anybody to indulge in any kind of incorrect activity, whether in professional life or outside life also. I'm not sure whether that answered your question or not, but
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so maybe we'll take that up
yeah,
again.
I will take it separately. Sure. Hare Krishna. So, what all that background that we talked about is basically to indicate that these devotees of the Lord, they actually align all their thoughts or their actions towards the service to the Lord. And what does the Lord want? He performs all his pastimes not because it is some form of entertainment for us. Yeah, many people, when you talk about Mahabharat to them, they take that as a B.R. Chopra Mahabharat serial, which is what they consume it for their entertainment purposes. But Mahabharat, it is not unnecessary that Mahabharat is regarded as the fifth Veda. Veda meaning knowledge. Okay, so when Mahabharat is regarded as a fifth body of knowledge, it would be foolishness, completely inappropriate to look at it purely from entertainment perspective. We come across quite a few people who foolishly mentioned महाभारत में अगर कुछ सीन अच्छा लगा है तो वो द्रौपदी वस्त्रहरण का था. हाँ? Or some people like to engage or in discussion about Ras Leela or the Vastraharan Leela. They think that it is a completely mundane activity that Krishna, did the Vastraharan of the gopis. It is not a mundane activity. What do you think? Meaning to even think of Krishna from that perspective is foolish from even logical reasons also. Do you know what was the age of Krishna when this Vastraharan Leela was performed? Can anybody say?
5 to 6 years only.
Okay,
Maybe 7.
yeah, close to that actually. He was, technically speaking, I have the exact stuff also here. He was almost, what do you say, 7 years, 6 months, and something like that. Yeah, अभी exactly देखता हूँ मैं. Okay, 7 years and 6 months approximately was his age. To think of somebody having an immoral character, okay, okay, that person, that boy should at least be grown up to know the physical aspect of the knowledge. Yeah, 7 years and 6 months का लड़का है, and to think of him as immoral shows how petty that thought process is. हाँ, अभी हम लोग ने कितनी बार हम लोग देखते हैं, राइट, दो तीन बच्चे, 2 साल के, 3 साल के, हाँ, एक दूसरे से खेल रहे और गले मिल रहे एक दूसरे से, कभी कभी पप्पी लेते हैं एक दूसरे के. डज इवन दैट नॉनसेंस थॉट कम टू अवर माइंड, अरे दे आर इंटरेक्टिंग विथ ईच अदर इन अ फिजिकल मैनर करके. It's so foolishness to think about such innocent activities from such small children in this angle. तो कृष्णा 7.5 साल का था To think about him as immoral is the kind of poor fund of knowledge. It's a loss of knowledge for them. So whenever these actions are being performed to serve the Lord, the devotee of the Lord is completely in alignment of the thought process of the Lord. The Lord wants basically to bring all the souls back to Him. But then there are certain souls who are hell bent upon not going back to the Lord. Okay, so that's why then the Lord comes Himself down, gives education to them. Sometimes, if they are unable to learn despite nice words and nice actions and nice pastimes, then the Lord gives them 3 4 tight slaps and makes them straight. And for some others who are on the edge, they are unable to decide which way to go, then he sends his representatives like Uddhav, Vidur, Bhishma, Arjun, Prahlad Maharaj, and saintly people like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada, Sant Tukaram, and all of that. Then he sends them and they perform some actions for them. Now, that is when it is an excellent opportunity for all of them also to indicate to the Lord that we are trying to do the best of our service for you. Please accept it. Okay. So, what do these people like Uddhav do? They are interested in imparting knowledge of the soul and its relationship with the Lord. And then, what activities are supposed to be performed in that transcendental relationship? What is the ultimate goal of human life? This particular knowledge is what can help the society achieve the objective. Okay, and that's why Krishna Prabhupada is mentioning that any knowledge which revolves around the physical body, okay, which can only help you eat well, sleep well, mate well, and defend well, this knowledge may be good for that particular lifetime, but it will not be useful in the next life. Okay, and so many different new knowledges have come. These new knowledges are good only for the current lifetime, but not permanently. All this physical knowledge is temporary. So, to understand that I am a soul, I am eternal, I am not this body, I am not part of this body, any knowledge that I focus upon or that I pursue or I develop newly should help me achieve my objective of human life, and it should not create a new life for me. And when people do not understand this one, then Lord Vishnu, he sends his servants into our society, gives this responsibility to them to educate people like us, and then we are able to come into the circle of bhakti and start progressing on the path of bhakti. Hare Krishna. Fine, we'll move on. उद्धव उवाच ननु ते तत्त्वसम्राध्य ऋषिकौशारवो अन्तिके साक्षात् भगवतादिष्टो मर्त्यलोकं जिहासता. Translation.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Sri Uddhava said, "You may take lessons from the great learned sage Maitreya, who is nearby and who is worshipable for reception of transcendental knowledge. He was directly instructed by the personality of Godhead while he was about to quit his mortal world." Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Although one may be well versed in the transcendental science, one should be careful about the offenses of Maryada
Vyatikrama.
Maryada Vetikrama or impotently surpassing a greater personality. According to scriptural injunctions, one should be very careful of transgressing the law of Maryada Vyatikrama, because by so doing one loses his duration of life, his opulence, fame, and pity and blessings of all the world. To be well versed in the transcendental science necessitates awareness of the techniques of spiritual science. Uddhava, being well aware of all these technicalities of transcendental science, advised Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi to receive transcendental knowledge. Vidura wanted to accept Uddhava as his spiritual master, but Uddhava did not accept the post because Vidura was as old as Uddhava's father, and therefore Uddhava could not accept him as his disciple. Especially Vidura was as especially when Maitreya was present nearby. The rule is that in the presence of a higher personality, one should not be very eager to impart instructions, even if one is competent and well versed. So Uddhava decided to send an elderly person into Vidura to Maitreya, another elderly person. But he was well versed also because he was directly instructed by the Lord while he was about to quit his mortal world. Since both Uddhava and Maitreya were directly instructed by the Lord, both had the authority to become the spiritual master of Vidura or anyone else. But Maitreya, being elderly, had the first claim to become the spiritual master, especially for Vidura, who was much older than Uddhava. One should not be eager to become a spiritual master cheaply for the sake of profit and fame, but should become a spiritual master only for the service of the Lord. The Lord never tolerates the
Impertinence.
impertinence of Maryada Vatikrama. One should never pass over the honor due to an elderly spiritual master in the interests of one's own personal gain and fame. Impertinence on the part of the pseudo spiritual master is very risky to progressive spiritual realization.
Thank
Jai
you,
Shri
Prabhu.
Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Yeah, so Maryada Vyatikrama is mentioned as one of the reasons here by Prabhupada for Uddhava directing Vidura to Maitreya Rishi. Now, the point is, in addition to this one, okay, Uddhava was unable to speak about the Lord, okay, because every time that he could speak about the Lord, his voice would choke. He would be overcome by the remembrance and emotions about the Lord, and he would not be able to speak at all. So that would keep that dialogue either half complete or it may take a very long time to complete. And he didn't want that. And if you remember, the when the start of the dialogue happened between Vidur and Uddhava, Uddhava's voice was choked. He remembered the Lord and he was completely overcome by the emotions. He was crying and he was unable to speak. Now, to be able to speak all that the Lord has spoken would actually take a very, very long time. And he wanted mainly, he wanted to give the message as well to other people also. So that's meaning which was a duty given by the Lord. So that's why he didn't want to wait much there. Okay. And in addition to this one, as Prabhupada mentions, Maryada Vyatikrama. So can I understand if based on the purport, if everybody has understood what Maryada Vyatikrama is? If yes, then I will not speak about it. I'll move on.
Just trying to understand the word, I think it is about giving respect.
Yes, correct. So when you, let's say for example, we learned say mathematics from our professors, right? And you and your professor are seated, okay? Both have good knowledge about maths now. And if somebody comes and raises hand, asks a question, if you develop attitude that I know as equal as my professor or more than my professor, I'm in a better position to answer this question. And if you attempt to answer, then that is called as Maryada Vyatikrama. So automatically one should wait for the teacher or the senior person or whoever is more eligible to give the answer. And if that person asks you that yes, you can answer this one, please answer it, then you can take that as an order and perform the order, meaning obey the order. Then that is not Maryada Vyatikrama. But without the professor asking us to speak about it, if we think greatly about ourselves and try to answer that, then that is Maryada Vyatikrama. Here in this scenario, what Prabhupada is writing is that because Maitreya Rishi and Uddhav both were present when the instructions were given by the Lord, and because Maitreya Rishi is a far elderly person, on top of that, one Vidur himself is an elderly person, then Uddhav, had he instructed Vidur, that would not be appropriate because of Vidur's age. So Vidur did not consider that age is a factor because he was the recipient of it. So he was giving respect to Uddhav. But Uddhav considers age as a factor because now he has to give. He is getting respect for whatever he is going to speak. And he didn't want that respect. Why? Because Vidura is elderly person. And better that elderly person be instructed by another elderly person, which is Maitreya Rishi. So that's why Uddhav is not in favor of giving any instructions to Vidur. That's the reason he directs him to Maitreya Rishi. That is the complete etiquette to handle the Maryada Vyatikrama situation. Is that clear? Any question around this one? Sushil Prabhu, Rao Prabhu, Rakesh? No?
No.
Let's
Looks
move
fine, Prabhu.
on. Okay. So verse number 27. Shri Shuka Uvacha इति सह विदुरेण विश्वमूर्तेर् गुणकथया सुधयाप्लवितो रुतापः क्षणमिव पुलिने यमस्व सुस्तां समुशीत औप गर्विनाशं गर्विनीशां ततो गात. Translation.
Sukdev Goswami said, O king, after thus discussing with Vidur the transcendental name, fame, qualities, etc., on the bank of the Yamuna, Uddhav was overwhelmed with great affliction. He passed the night as he passed the night as if it were a moment, and thereafter he went away. The word used here for Krishna is Vishwamurti. Both Uddhav and Vidur were in the great affliction because of the Lord Krishna's departure. But the more they discussed the transcendental name, fame, and qualities of the Lord, the more the picture of the Lord became visible to them everywhere. Such visualization of the transcendental form of the Lord is neither false nor imaginary, but is factual, absolute truth. When the Lord is perceived as Vishwamurti, it is not that he loses his personality or transcendental eternal form, but he becomes visible in the same form everywhere. Hare
Correct.
Krishna.
Yeah. So now Uddhav is actually trying to go away to perform his other duties. And one point that we can learn from this one is the time that passes depends on the mood that we are in. Okay. So let's say, let's take an example. It is a very, very hot summer, 50 degrees Celsius temperature is there. At afternoon 12 o'clock, you are driving and your car breaks down and you don't know what has happened. Let's say, for example, petrol is insufficient. Okay. And in that scenario, you have to come out of the car, you have to make a call to somebody, that person will bring petrol to you, and then you will fill it up, and then you will go ahead. Okay, but the whole process may take at least 1 hour. Remember, imagine being in that hot sun, either within the car or outside the car, and tolerating that heat. Okay, you will feel every moment of that 1 hour of waiting period will be like an 1 hour itself. You will constantly look at the watch and you will say, अरे अभी 10:01 हुआ है. After that, अरे अभी सिर्फ 10:02 ही हो गया है. So 58 more minutes to go. Yeah? Every moment will feel like it is so long. बराबर. That is when it is an undurable event, unendurable event. Okay, the time passes very slow. At least that is what we perceive. Okay, something which is so engrossing. Let's say कोई अच्छी मूवी चल रही है. Okay, पता भी नहीं चलता है 3 घंटे कब खत्म हो गए. Yeah? You get so much engrossed in it that you think, अरे just a few moments back we had entered this movie hall, and now 3 hours are over also. Okay, so the same time which is going at the same pace, okay, is perceived, the rate of the passing of the time is perceived differently depending on what mood we are in, what situation we are in. So when you are with your loved one, either with your children or wife or friends or whatever it is, अरे टाइम कैसे चला गया पता ही नहीं चला. This is a very common statement everybody makes, right? So 11 बजे 10-11 बजे फ्रेंड्स आए घर पे. ओके, एंड गप्पे 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 में खाना खाते समय 5 कब बज गए पता ही नहीं चला. Why? Because you enjoy every moment of that, because you are with your loved one. Okay, so similarly, the memories of Krishna within Uddhava's mind were so strong and so meaning close with Krishna. Constant remembrance and loving remembrance was there, that the whole night passed as if it were just a single moment. So beautiful it is, isn't it? To pass every night, every day with such a strong remembrance of Krishna that nothing else matters. And that whole night or the whole day passes away just like a moment. And this is what our saintly people also used to feel. Okay, Mirabai ho, ya Santa Tukaram ho, ya jo bhi ho, so many saints of South India were there. So many different incidents we have heard. Everybody was so much engrossed in it, they never felt any physical problem, any mental problem, only because of the constant remembrance of the Lord. So important it is for us to understand. Now we can consider this as a taste and measurement for ourselves, that when we are with Krishna, whether we are chanting or whether we are speaking about Bhagavad Gita or where we are speaking about Bhagavatam or hearing both of them, or we are doing deity worship or we are cooking for Krishna, do we feel that way? The time is passing so fast, pata hi nahi chala. Or we feel that time is passing too slow, as if we are in the 50 degree Celsius summer heat में है. ये कभी खत्म होता है ऐसा हो रहा है. Which way do we actually feel it? That is a question that one has to ask individually. So there's another point that we should actually speak about, that the Lord has his own form, especially the Shama Sundar, Tribhanga Shama Sundar form. Okay, but the Lord is also considered as Vishwamurti. It doesn't mean that Vishwamurti meaning he is the universal form. Okay, and even if it is considered that way also, it does not indicate that the Lord has lost his personality. Okay, the Lord is still the same Tribhanga Shama Sundar Roop. which he wants us to worship in. Okay, so just because the Lord is performing a pastime or he's performing a role of a Vishwamurti or the universal form or Virata Rupa or Vishwarupa or Paramatma Rupa or Brahma and all of that, it doesn't mean that his original identity is lost. That remains with him in wherever he is, but it depends on us as individuals which form do we like to worship him in. He comes to us in front of us in that particular form. Hare Krishna. Let's move on to verse 28. Rajovacha निधनम उपगतेषु वृष्णिभोजेष्व अधिरथ युथप युथप युथपेषु मुख्यः सतु कथमविष्ट उद्धवो यद्धरी धरीर धरीर अपि त्यजत आकृतिं त्रयाधीशः. These are a bit difficult verses. Translation and purport.
Read.
Yeah.
Translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri
The king inquired, at the end of the pastimes of the Lord of the three worlds, Sri Krishna, and after the disappearance of the members of the uh, Varsni, Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties, who were the best of the great commanders, why did Uddhava alone remain? Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, Nidhanam means the transcendental abode of the Lord. Ni means the highest, and the Dhinam means opulence. And because the abode of the Lord is the highest manifestation of transcendental opulence, his abode can therefore be called his abode that can therefore be called Nidhanam. Apart from the grammatical elucidations, the real purpose of the word Nidhanam is to indicate that all the members of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties were direct associates of the Lord. And after the end of his pastimes, all the associates were dispatched to their respective positions in the transcendental abode. Srila Vishwanta Chakravarti Thakur, Vishwanath
Chakravarti Thakur.
Okay, Vishwanath, sorry. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elucidates the meaning of akritam as pastimes. The means complete and kritam means transcendental pastimes. Since the Lord is identical with his transcendental body, there is no question of his changing or quitting his body. To act in accordance with the rules and customs of the material world, the Lord seems to take his birth or leave his body. But the pure devotees of the Lord know well the actual fact. It is necessary, therefore, for the serious students of Srimad Bhagavatam to follow the notes and comments of the great Acharya like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti to others who are not devotees of the Lord. The comments and explanations of such acharyas may appear to be grammatically jugglery, but to the students who are in the line of disciplic succession, the explanations of the great acharyas are quite fit. The word Upagateshu is also significant. All the members of Vrishni and Bhoja directly reach the abode of the Lord. Other devotees do not reach the abode of the Lord directly, but the pure associates of the Lord have no attraction for the opulence of any planets of the material world. Sometimes, due to inquisitiveness, devotees who are to be promoted to the abode of the Lord have some attraction for the opulence of the higher material planets above the earth, and thus they desire to see them while going up to the perfection. But the Vrisni and Bojas were directly dispatched because they had no attraction for material planets. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also suggests that according to the Amara Kosha dictionary, Akriti also means signal. Lord Krishna orders Uddhava by signal to go to Badak
Badrikashram.
Badakashma, Badrikashrama after his departure, and Uddhava, as a pure devotee of the Lord, carried out the order more faithfully than going back to Godhead or the abode of the Lord. That was the cause of his remaining alone even after the departure of the Lord from the face of the earth. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you.
Forgiveness. Yes, I made a lot of mistakes. Sorry.
No problem. So the key point here is that the Parikshit Maharaj, the king mentioned here, is inquiring that, meaning we will know this when we reach to the 11th canto. Also, when the Lord departed, along with the Lord, quite a few people left. So here it is mentioned that the Vrushni and Bhoja dynasties also departed. Okay, the Yadus, directly or indirectly, we can call it, that they also departed. Okay, they fought within each other and they left the body. So Krishna handled that as well. Then along with that, the hunter Jara, who shot the arrow towards Krishna's left foot, okay, he was also dispatched to Vaikuntha. Then Daruka, who is the charioteer of Krishna, he was also dispatched along with Krishna. Various other factors such as truth, religion, fame, and piety, and all of that, that also went back to Vaikuntha. Okay, although it sounds to be impersonal, but all these factors also left. Now then the automatically question, then why did Uddhava remain alone? Okay, so that's why Parikshit Maharaj is asking the question. Now Nidhan in Sanskrit, okay, is known as death. Okay, so Nidhanam has multiple meanings. In this one translation, Prabhupada translates it as destruction, which can also be equated with death. But Nidhan has another meaning. And if you look at it, it is practically right as well. So Ni means highest and Dhana means opulence. So the place which has the highest opulence is Krishna's place. That's why Nidhan corresponds to that. And if you look at it practically also, it is right, wherein somebody who dies actually achieves the highest of the opulence because he gets an opportunity to go back to Krishna, or at least enter into a body where he can actually utilize the body and go back to Krishna. So both ways, Nidhan means the highest opulence, death, both are appropriate. Okay, so Upagateshu is also a word used here. Upagateshu also means that they were dispatched. Okay, Gata, meaning Gantavya is destination. Gati is also meaning the speed. Okay, and that is also enabling us to reach towards the destination. Upagateshu is to send somebody. Okay, so that's why Upagateshu is used here to indicate that they were sent by Krishna towards Vaikuntha, the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasty. Okay, let's move on. The last verse of the day, a very important verse. Shri Shuka Uvacha Brahmashapapadeshen कालेनामोघवञ्चितः संहृत्य स्वकुलं स्फीतं त्यक्ष्यन् देहम् अचिन्तयत्. Translation, purport, anybody?
Mary?
Hare Krishna. Go ahead, Mark.
Hare Krishna. Translation and purport by Sri Prabhupada. Jai Sri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. माता जी आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Yes. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami replied, My dear king, the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth after dispatching his excessively numerous family members. He thought to himself as follows. Purport. In this verse, the word Tyakshyam is very significant in relation to Lord Shri Krishna's leaving his body. Since he is the eternal form of existence, knowledge, and bliss, his body and his self are identical. Therefore, how is it possible that he would leave his body and then disappear from the vision of the world? There is a great controversy among the non-devotees or Mayavadis about the mysterious disappearance of the Lord, and the doubts of those men with a poor fund of knowledge have been very elaborately cleared by Sri Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbha. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord has many forms. It is stated therein that the Lord has innumerable forms, and when he appears within the vision of the living entities, as Lord Krishna actually appeared, all such forms amalgamate with him. Besides all these infallible forms, he has his universal form as manifested before Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here in this verse, the word Svitam is also used, which indicates that he left his gigantic universal form called the Virat Rupa, not his primeval eternal form, because there is hardly any possibility of his changing his form of Sachidanand. This simple understanding is at once realized by the devotees of the Lord, but those who are non-devotees, who perform hardly any devotional service to the Lord, either do not understand this simple fact or purposely raise a controversy to defeat the eternity of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is due to the effect called the cheating propensity of the imperfect living entities. By practical experience also, it is seen up to the present day that the Lord's transcendental form is worshipped by devotees in different temples. And all the devotees of the Lord actually realize that the form of the deity in the temple is not different from the form of the Lord. This inconceivable performance of the internal potency of the Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritah. The Lord reserved the right of not being exposed to everyone. In the Padma Puran, it is said, Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyaiha. The name and form of the Lord cannot be perceived by the material senses, but when he appears within the vision of the mundane people, he assumes the form of the Virat Rupa. This is an additional material exhibition of form and is supported by the logic of a subject and its adjective. In grammar, when an adjective is taken away from the subject it modifies does not change. Similarly, when the Lord quits his Virat Rupa, his eternal form does not change. Although there is no material difference between himself and any of his innumerable forms. In the fifth canto, it will be seen how the Lord is worshipped in different planets in his different forms, even now, and how he is worshipped in different temples of this earth also. Srila Jeev Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have very elaborately explained this incident of the Lord's disappearance in their commentaries, quoting various authentic versions of Vedic literatures. We purposely do not include them all here to avoid an increase in the volume of this book. The entire matter is explained in Bhagavad Gita as quoted above. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. He always keeps himself out of the vision of the non-devotees who are devoid of love and devotion, and thus he puts them still further away from the Lord. The Lord appeared on the invitation of Brahma, who prayed before the Shirodakshai Vishnu, and therefore, when the Lord appeared, all the forms of Vishnu amalgamate with him, and when the mission was fulfilled, all of them disintegrated from him in the usual course.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So beautifully written here, right? So the Lord and his transcendental body is like a big subject in itself, which cannot be covered in 5-10 minutes. But just to understand that Prabhupada has constantly mentioned that the form of the Lord is Sachidananda Vigraha. It is not material. So what is not material cannot be left in the material world. So to think that the Lord left his body and died like an ordinary person and went to Vaikuntha is foolishness. Yeah. And on this particular topic, we have also spoken about it previously that in the 30th chapter, or I think 31st chapter of 11th canto, there is one verse, 11th verse, where the use of the word swatanum has been done. Okay, let's quickly look at it. Okay, I think 11th verse. No, sorry. Uh, verse number 6. लोकाभिरामां स्वतनुं धारणाध्यानमङ्गलं योगधारण्याग्नेया दग्ध्वा धामाविशत्स्वकम्. A very important verse. You should remember this one constantly. Without employing the mystic Agneyi meditation, okay, to burn up his transcendental body, without doing that, which is the transcendental body, which is the all attractive resting place of all the worlds and the object of all contemplation and meditation, Lord Krishna entered his own abode. Okay, so just to simplify, if we ignore this for a moment, what he is saying, his transcendental body, along with that, Lord Krishna entered his own abode. Okay, and which is highlighted by this word swatanum. Tanum is basically body, sharir, and swa meaning his own body. Okay, so when Shukadev Goswami is telling us that he left the world along with his own transcendental body, it is only foolishness to interpret that the Lord died a normal death, left his material body on earth, and then went away. It is like distorting the Shastric version completely. Yeah. Okay, there again. Yeah, this one, right, we were looking at. So I'll just put my stop on topic about the Lord's body. It is in itself big, but I just want to take a moment to talk about this point, that the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord. Yeah. Uh, there are many times wherein, because of not having sufficient scriptural knowledge, people think that Gandhari's curse caused the Yadu dynasty's destruction. How many of you have heard this one before? Yeah, Gandhari ने शाप दिया and सारे यादव मर गए.
Yes, Prabhuji, we have
Yeah,
heard.
yeah, we have heard that, right? But we also consider that as a valid statement. So what happens is, when the Lord wants to carry out a certain action, he uses certain people as medium to perform the action. So the Lord basically wanted the Yadus to anyway leave the planet. That is the reason the Lord carried out or made them carry out such an action by which their own destruction can happen. So Samba becoming a woman, okay, wearing a sari and others, and displaying himself as a woman, and the mace which was there beneath his sari, and showing that to the Brahmanas and asking them, with that be a child, or with that be a boy or a girl. Okay, this kind of stuff was actually initiated by the Lord. He made them do it directly or indirectly. Yeah, so he gave them the necessary knowledge or the inspiration to perform this action, because of which the Brahmanas cursed them, because of which that complete incident happened. Okay, and then it is mentioned in Bhagavatam that the mace, then they went and told this to Ugrasen. Then Ugrasen asked that whole thing to be crushed into powder. They did that. They threw the powder in the river also. But the last piece of that remained. Okay. And then they drank that liquor, and then they become kind of intoxicated with liquor. Then they fought with each other and killed each other and all that. And what the Lord did, the Jara, the hunter, when he shot the arrow towards the Lord's left foot, okay, Jara was using that particular piece of that same mace, which was not grounded to powder but thrown directly into the river. That same piece was being used by Jara, and he put it over on that arrow, and he shot the arrow to the Lord's foot, towards the Lord's foot. And then the Lord took that as an excuse, and he departed from the world. So the point that I want to highlight here is to think that an ordinary person like you and me, or maybe a little better person like Gandhari, can cause the Lord to undergo a sharp. It is foolishness to just think of it. The Lord who controls the past, present, and future of every living entity. You think that just Gandhari, with hardly any devotion to Lord Krishna, can cause the destruction of his dynasty? It is just foolishness to think that the Gandhari has more ability than Lord Krishna. So that is what Shukadev Goswami is highlighting here, that when the Lord desires, his desire is always the supreme desire. When the Lord desires, he can get that activity performed in any manner he wants. To think that Gandhari can cause something to be done, whether the Lord wishes or doesn't wish, it's just absolute foolishness to think that way. So I leave you with this particular point, that the Lord is independent. In the first verse, first canto, first chapter, first verse of Bhagavatam, okay, Vyasdev mentions the Lord as Virat, independent, sorry, Swarat, okay, independent. He is completely independent. Whatever he wishes to do, he can do it. There is nobody who has an ability to make the Lord do something whether he wishes or not. There is nothing that is impossible for the Lord, and there is nothing that an ordinary person can cause the Lord to do. The only time the Lord accepts somebody's demands is when it comes in the form of a request of a pure devotee. Okay, otherwise the Lord continues to fulfill his own plan. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. Anybody has any question? Or we can wrap up today's session. No? Okay. Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Very well explained, Prabhuji. Very well
Thank you
explained.
so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Nice lecture.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.